See It Played, Drive on Frankfurt, the game from the magazine Counterattack, issue number 1. So it's a NATO impulse. It is a general impulse, and available are any number of airstrikes. So just talk about airstrikes here, won't have any. So on turns 3, 5, and 7, once per day, each player receives a number of airstrikes. He secretly allocates each of these to one of 2 missions, either close air support or bombardment. Strikes may then be used during the turn for the mission to which they are allocated. There are no air unit counters. Players record allocation and expenditure of strikes on paper. So then we have availability of airstrikes, mission allocation, and mission execution. And I guess I'll just quickly hit mission execution, and then we'll move on. So strikes allocated to CAS may support ground combat, but may not bombard. Strikes allocated to bombardment may bombard, but may not support ground combat. Okay. Each strike may be used only once. Okay. Any number of strikes available may be used in any impulse or during the barrage phase. Okay. Strikes not used prior to the next air allocation phase are lost. Okay. So that is it for mission execution. So am I to... Okay, so what are air strikes? Are they DRMs to combat? Is there a separate airstrikes table? I don't... Oh, okay. Okay. So it is a... It looks like it's a DRM to combat. Okay, so if they do CAS, defensive airstrike, offensive airstrike is a DRM. Oh, and they're different. Okay, so it's -1 for defensive airstrike either side, +1 for NATO offensive airstrike, and +2 for Soviet offensive airstrike. And higher is better. Okay, so +2 Soviet offensive airstrike, pretty significant. Okay, but now how do we bombard? Well, I guess we'll get there when we want to bombard. So so I think that's the end. So how do we end an impulse? Okay, so it doesn't look like there's anything special ending the impulse. NATO impulse is done. The NATO side could do more at this point, but they're not going to. So now it goes to the Soviet impulse. Soviet impulse, so the view real quick from the Soviet side. Again, this division, the 27th Guards, came on here. Yeah, they came on here. The R graphic there, they came straight down the highway like that. In another impulse, the 6th Guards here came on here, and they flowed through here and flowed through here. So to get on there, almost reaching the German recon unit there. Now this division, actually the 9th division here, I actually chose to one of the first things to move them down from these normal R hexes, move them down here, and here it says R+1. It's basically just a turn delay. So in effect, they're traveling off map to come further south, and they're going and next turn, so R+1, they're going to come on here. So I set them off to the side there, and they are committed for that. So what's left is this unit here, this formation, I should say, not even unit, and this is the air assault unit. So the question is, what can I do with this? You know, our air assault infantry, yeah. So right away, one of the things to get straight is, already mentioned earlier, is this base unit, which by the way needs a needs a helicopter unit. So I'm adding that, and this helicopter base for this helicopter unit is also the headquarters for these air assault units. Okay, so these are some of my answers. Okay, the Soviet Air Assault Brigade that we've been talking about here must be activated as a formation in order to enter play. Note that air mobile units, so we've got air mobile mechanized infantry, and we've got air mobile infantry. It's like we have two battalions of each, I think. So air mobile mechanized infantry on the left, air mobile infantry on the right. So they have, okay. Okay, note that air mobile units may use half their ground MPs to enter play and then air move. So that's, I think, well, and then it's helicopters or air mobile units may not fly onto the map. So that's what I was wondering. So should have that set up. You know, the Soviet helicopter unit can't come on flying onto the map on its own. So I guess the base. So I guess the force as a whole is going to have to move onto the map, and then there will be some opportunity to conduct air movement after that. Okay, so formation activation, Soviet Air Assault Brigade. These are the two air assault or air mobile infantry walking by leg here. These are the mechanized infantry, air mobile or air assault mechanized infantry. Now here, the West German recon unit there is not only is it alone and unsupported, but it's also in the open. So I think after moving the base, I think that the helicopter can move out to attack the Germans. I think. I don't see why they can't. So first, the Soviet helicopters have to survive air defense fire, and then they want to bombard the Germans there. Germans roll a 6, not good enough to take out the Soviet attack helicopters there, so they successfully move adjacent. Now, to bombard, do they have to enter the hex? And if they enter the hex, then they have to survive 2 more air defense attacks. Let me check that. Okay. Bombarding artillery must be within range of the target unit's hex, and helicopters, in our case, must fly to the target hex or any adjacent hex and are subject to air defense fire. So clearly the Soviet helicopters that survived the adjacent defensive fire, air defensive fire, are not going to push their luck. I don't see what the difference is. So they are going to attack the German armored cavalry there in the open now. So it's a bombardment. So first the unit values, the helicopter's bombardment values the number in the center there, so it's 4. Now, interestingly, helicopter units use their printed values for bombardment, but they're doubled when bombarding armor or cavalry. So I guess this is going to be 4 doubled to 8. And then there is a bombardment table. Let's look at that. So let's see how intuitive this is. There's a bombardment table, target. So we have combat RD, headquarters base EW. So clearly it's a combat unit. Bombardment value again, I guess, is the Soviet 4 doubled to 8. So it's this column, I guess. Reminders. There's the helicopter bombardment value doubled. Spotting distance, column shifts. Okay, so spotting distance, column shifts. I guess this is spotting for the, well, in any case, there's no shift, right? Soviet, 0 to 3, 0 shifts, okay. Bombardment with less than minimum value shown has no effect. In barrage phase, we're not in barrage phase. So, I guess it's Soviets roll. They get a 1, which is no effect. But if they had gotten a D result, then what? Is that what they're telling you? Oh no, no, a D is a D. It's the asterisk up here that you determine by unit type. Okay, what the final result is. Okay, so I guess that's it. So just plain missed. I guess the helicopter returns. The base has flipped over to finish the activation. Oh, isn't that interesting? The helicopter doesn't have a... so I guess it stays like that, but then... well, I guess it can't operate without its base being activated? Yeah, okay. And then... yeah.